Indiana Jones, It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute, the podcast where we ask ourselves what we believe about the film Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, 1 minute at a time. I'm Tom Taylor.
I believe it's fun, and I believe that is all right. I'm Pete Mummert.
I'm Joe Christopher St. Lawdog, patron saint of rough. I did that for you, Tommy.
I like that. Did the saint wear a trench coat and eat dog biscuits?
Exactly. Takes a bite out of sins.
Didn't the guy who did the voice of McGruff wind up having like some drug-addicted life or something?
Oh, God, really?
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah,
No, you know what?
Stuff,
That's
like it is real.
You know what? You're thinking of Saint Raw Dog. A patron saint of child support.
Wow.
No, yes. Saint Law Dog actually does have 4 churches named after him in Wales.
Oh, look at that.
Porter.
That's your cue.
That's my I am Rachael Noel Fox. I'm here to talk to you as well.
My name is Songe Sanctuary Riddle, and I know that I don't believe in the no-win scenario.
Oh, nice.
All right.
You're in good company.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for coming back and joining us for Minute 104. Minute 104 is the one that begins with Indy telling Donovan that shooting him won't get Donovan anywhere, and it ends with Indy approaching the heads-off machine.
It's interesting the way I mentioned this last minute or yesterday. Indy kind of says, just very neutrally. He's almost a little he's a little quiet, even a little composed. He just says, "Shooting me won't get you anywhere." And then Donovan retorts, "You know something, Dr. Jones? You're absolutely right." And then turns his gun and shoots Indy's dad. Now, what I want to know is, did Indy's line convince Donovan to shoot Henry?
No. And I'll tell you why. Because he moves the gun towards Jones Sr. before he moves his eyes. He's still looking at Indy while Indy is talking to him, and he moves his gun as though that was his plan anyway, and then his eyes turn when he actually shoots the gun. So I think he had that in his mind already, because that was, I thought that was just a really good bit of physical acting to indicate that it was his plan all along. Like, yeah, whatever, I'm already going to do it.
Yeah.
And that's why they didn't attack them on the edge of the cliff.
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay,
that
that
explains
is.
that.
That does.
Yeah,
So
all right. I like that a lot.
Donovan does seem to be putting all of his chips on Indy being the one he needs to get the Grail, and I'm not sure why. But yeah, he definitely, way before this sentence is spoken, thinks, oh, if I shoot his dad, then he will have to do what I say because the Grail will be the only thing that saves him, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm still not sure why I'm not sure why Indy is the guy for Donovan. Like, is Indy going to walk through and get his head cut off? And he's like, all right, I guess I go back to the Hatay soldiers. Who's next? We're up to 6. Who has 6?
There's like 3 people that know the Grail Diary and what's inside of it. Those are Henry Jones Sr., Henry Jones Jr., and possibly Donovan.
Ilsa.
And
No?
does Ilsa
No,
understand?
I don't think. I think only. This is really weird here, and I think we might get into this tomorrow. Indy and his dad are the only ones who know what's in the diary, because Fogel knew something special was in the diary. And he may have, because he remember the whole glove smackarooskies?
Yeah.
He says, why did you come back here to get this diary? Whap. So you're like, okay, so Fogel knows that there's something in there that they don't know.
Yeah. They only thought it was useful for the map. That
Yes.
chintzy
Right.
map.
Donovan actually read the diary.
No, he gave it, once he discovered the map was missing, he just said, well, it's nothing more now than a souvenir or whatever. And he kind of gave it to Elsa. He's like,
Right.
So that's what I'm trying to figure out. I think only Henry and Indy know, and if anything, at best, Donovan knows that there's more information in the diary, but I don't think he knows what it is.
But I think if he has to choose between Indy and Henry, he knows
Right.
that Indy is a known quality. Like he knows that Indy got the Ark of the Covenant and Indy got the Sankara stones, and he knows that this is the guy that can get stuff done. So I think if he has a choice, he's going to pick Indy.
But what's so strange is that Indy tells Donovan, you got the wrong Jones, Mr. Donovan.
Right.
So I would agree with you in every, in almost every scenario except this one. Clearly, Henry is the guy who, he wrote the diary.
Right.
But he's not a field worm. He's not a guy that's going to get
Right.
through traps.
And you also get the sense that Donovan, even if he had the diary and knew it was in it and knew that it had quote unquote clues to get through the traps, that he would not just take it and go and do it himself. He wasn't going to get his hands dirty and get his head chopped off.
Well, Donovan takes a hell of a gamble here, because what if he shoots Indy's dad and he hits him in like an artery or something?
Yeah.
And Indy's dad just dies. It's one of those,
Right.
he bleeds to death very quickly or dies of shock or something like that. And then I'm wondering, like, could the Grail resurrect him?
Nah.
I mean, then what if Indy dies on his way through? It's like, is he just going to be like, okay, guys, well, it's been fun.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah,
back to New
volunteer
Jersey.
number 4.
Yeah. Send more Nazis.
Send more paramedics.
Exactly.
Do you think this is another? I feel like this is another callback to Raiders. When Donovan shoots, Indy kind of starts, like he kind of jumps, and it feels exactly like that scene in Raiders where he thinks he's been shot in the stomach.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
In Marion's
Yeah.
bar.
Yeah.
That's good acting. That's a good moment. Like that's the syncing up of the gunshot and the sound and everybody's reaction is really perfect.
Yeah, you see the shadow of the gun on him move as well. Like the guy holding the gun sort of jumps.
Oh,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
and I remember being completely shocked by this when I saw it in the theater. Like this was, this definitely landed for me. Like I was like, oh my God.
How have we? I tried to look this up and I couldn't find anything. But how many times have we ever seen Sean Connery fatally wounded in a movie? I actually looked it up and all I got was stuff about Roger
The
Moore dying.
Untouchables.
Yeah, The
Untouchables.
Untouchables and Robin and Marion. Those are the only movies I can think of.
And I'm going to bring up the
Spoilers.
Untouchables again in a bit. But
Not Highlander?
Oh,
he get
I'm
his
a
head
bad
cut off?
nerd. I forget my Highlander. Does he die in
I
Highlander?
mean, in the first Highlander, I don't remember what all the crazy sequels did with the retconning and whatnot. But in the first one, yeah, he's. I mean, his head is cut off. That counts,
yeah.
right? That's a mortal wound.
That's yeah.
he's also Spanish.
It's an immortal wound in that case.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I have a movie nerd question here. If you watch the scene where Donovan shoots, and it's seconds 7 to 12. What is that weird edit? What is going on? Like, is that just a strange, choppy, lazy edit, or is that
are you
done
talking
for
about-
dizzying effect?
Are you talking about when he says "Dad" 3 times?
Yeah, like spins around. Yes.
That's why I'm bringing up the Untouchables. So
Oh,
there's I don't know if any of you guys ever did any time in film school where you were subjected to the battleship Potemkin over and over and over.
yeah.
But Eisenstein, the director, did this thing often where he would have the same reaction shot 3 times in a row. It was you can see it on the Odessa Stairs sequence, which is something that was referenced to great effect in The Untouchables when they're in I think it's like a train station.
Yeah, they're in Union Station in Chicago.
Yeah. The baby carriage is going down the staircase. That's the Odessa Stairs sequence from Battleship Potemkin.
Oh, yeah.
And he does it at the very beginning of that. You know, everybody's going up the stairs and they're celebrating, everything's happy, and then there's a card that says "suddenly," which I think is the soldiers starting to shoot the people. And the first thing you see after that card is a woman's reaction, and it's the same reaction 3 times in a row, slightly different.
Wow.
And you know, the angle is slightly different, and the action is slightly different. Like it's 3 different takes, but it's cut to drive in that the severity of her
Yeah.
response to what's going on.
Yeah.
And this right here is that shot where he's like, "Dad, Dad, Dad." It's the same reaction, but it's also combined with that kind of like continuous motion that Spielberg uses in everything, where he tries to get as many things as he can into one take, or the oneer as people refer to it. And so you've got the camera sort of cycling around him as it happens, but it's still the same reaction each time.
Yeah.
And I think for me, like, I was really happy that you gave us this minute, or that you picked this one for us to come talk to, because in this minute is everything that I love about Steven Spielberg. You know, like he gets a lot of crap for, you know, being too glossy, or his films being sentimental. You know, he's great at that. You know, they're emotionally manipulative, whatever. I believe that any effective film is emotionally manipulative. If it's not, then they've failed. But you know, because what's the point of making a movie that nobody cares about, that nobody's invested in?
Right.
Anyway, but in this 1 minute, you get so many of the hallmarks of Steven Spielberg's mastery of the narrative of film, in the way that the camera moves and the way that it's edited, you know, and you can almost see all of the films that he was watching that taught him how to put together an effective narrative, you know, how to tell stories in sequence, which is something that I think is, you know, sorely missing today. Like you go watch one of those like Transformers movies, and it's like, you know, there's some action going on, but like the shot that you're watching actually doesn't have anything to do with the shot before. It's just cut fast enough and it's close enough that you're just like, okay, well, this is kind of chaotic. I believe that something's going on here. Whereas with
moving a whole bunch.
you kind of like including the things like the Transformers themselves, like spinning parts and stuff. It's just like, just spectacle, guys. Just give them a spectacle. They won't even care. But and that is one of the things that makes Raiders so great. For instance, is that like the action is continuous, but you always know exactly where you are and exactly what's going on. And he's he's great at that. So, and there's a lot of that in this minute for me.
Yeah. Well, that shot is beautiful too, because the camera is rotating, and it rotates in 3 different directions when they do those edits. Yeah, and it's gorgeous because it completely throws your equilibrium off. Like you're unsettled, and it's dizzying. And Jerry, I shudder every time you use that word lazy when you're talking about Spielberg's filmmaking.
Oh no, well, I mean, look, I mean, first of all, the reason I asked was because I'm not a movie guy. And I never said I was smart. But I mean, it is choppy and it is dizzying for effect, and I mean, it does make me feel a little nauseated. But that's why I wondered, like, oh, this may have been done for effect. Yeah. I don't know, but let's be clear. There's plenty of examples where there is lazy filmmaking.
There is.
Yeah, at times. I'm not saying Steven Spielberg's a bad director. That's preposterous. He's amazing. That's why it's lazy. Is because he's amazing.
We know what he's capable of.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
If otherwise I'd say, he just did the best he could.
Right. He was tired that day.
Yeah, we gave him a trophy anyway.
Oh, there you go, Steve. Yeah, he uses the same thing in the same like multiple versions of the same reaction in E.T. too. When not E.T. 2, E.T. also when he
E.T. 2
when like he and E.T. scare each other like in the California cornfield suburbs, and you get those multiple shots of Elliot screaming and looking around and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And even right before the bike takes off, there was that one shot with the effect, the close up on Elliot's face towards the end of the movie.
It jumps in like twice or like 3 times.
You didn't think that was lazy, Jerry?
I didn't.
I bet he
didn't
did.
think that was lazy.
I bet he did.
I didn't tell Pete. You didn't tell Pete that was lazy.
We're missing a huge connection here, though. An amazing connection. The gun that Donovan uses to shoot Henry is a Walther PPK.
Oh, that's funny.
Which is the same gun that Sean Connery's James Bond used.
Yeah.
So basically, Henry's being shot with his own gun.
Really?
That's dirty.
Yeah.
Wow.
And plus Donovan's name is Walter, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes he goes pee-pee. Sorry. Okay.
Really?
That's what
Boogers?
Yeah.
Yesterday you
Boogers.
busted me for boogers?
Hey, I decided not to give my note about it looks like Donovan shoots Henry in the penis. Like if you look at the trajectory of like where he's aiming the gun, it looks like he kind of shoots him in the groin. But I decided not to say that, so we don't have to worry about it.
He totally does. By the
He
way.
does it. It was funny. You called it a penis.
A penis.
Yeah, penis. It's the male reproductive organ.
It's like you had to explain to the doctor where Henry got shot. No, you see, Doc, well, he was shot in the penis.
He's shot right in the dink tinkler.
I think that's the only time I've ever heard you say that word.
I guarantee that's not true.
Oh, my God.
I have a point to make, an excellent serious point. Why doesn't Indy just go bananas on Donovan? Because we've already established that Donovan is not going to shoot Indy, that he needs him, and that shooting him won't get him anywhere. So why doesn't he just beat the pulp out of Donovan and shoot him in the face and stuff?
Well, I think he's completely discombobulated.
But there's still all the Nazis that I guess don't speak English and
And the Fez
Yeah.
and the Johnny Two Hats that all have guns pointed at them.
That's true.
Yeah.
But wouldn't they be under orders not to hurt Indy if that's like the big scheme?
I
for
don't,
Donovan?
I feel like that's not the big scheme. I think Donovan is playing the best card he has right now.
Yeah,
I don't know who's going to send in next. I mean, maybe Sala,
right.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah, what's Sala doing during all of this?
Or at what point? You know what's interesting is what about Elsa? Like, when is she going to go? And I only ask because she's the actual archaeologist here.
Maybe that's why she said she didn't think she was going to see him again, because she thought that she was going to be next in the volunteer line.
Maybe.
Her head-
Yeah.
Oh, that's really good.
Her reaction though is when Henry gets shot is amazing. Like,
Oh, she
goes,
freaks
"No."
out.
And I wonder if this
Oh,
means that she
yeah.
loved Henry all along. Like, was he her guy?
Oh,
I'm just gonna say, I that's I don't believe that. All of a sudden, Elsa now is Saint Elsa, patron saint of archaeologists, monomaniacal fathers. I'm not buying this. All of a sudden, like, this is weird. Elsa is caring too much, because and we had that disgust at the decapitation, and now this unseemly bout of compassion. I'm just not buying this with Elsa. It just doesn't match up with what we saw earlier. This is how Austrians say goodbye. Just all of it. She's like steely cold.
I have to say that Elsa is not a particular favorite of mine as far as characters that show up in these movies. I've always, there's something that seems sort of disingenuous about her. Not as a character, but as, and maybe it's the way she's written, maybe it's the way she's acted. I don't know, but it doesn't feel like she's as present and as what's the word,
morally
resolved
conflicted? Oh, all right.
as other characters in the films. It almost feels like she's supposed, like, well, we have to have a love interest, so
Yeah.
who are we
Yeah.
going to put in? And she's sort of a cartoon, like a loose sketch of a character.
Well,
Yeah.
so here's my question for you, for Songe and Rachael. Am I supposed to care about Elsa? Like, throughout the movie or by the end of the movie, am I supposed to care what her fate is?
I don't know that you are, or they wouldn't have thrown her. Spoilers. I don't think that she would have had such a uneventful death. Like, if you were supposed to really care, she would have died in his arms or something. But the fact that she had a death that just like threw her into a chasm, I think that's well, she is a Nazi and she did try to kill everybody. I mean, that's the vibe that I get from that death, and so I don't think that in the end you're really supposed to care about her.
But she also cries when she has a hand wrapped around her throat.
Yeah.
So there's supposed to be some sort of empathy for her. She is an archaeologist that wound up, though she had, like, her primary interest was archaeology and science, she wound up having to throw in with some bad guys in order to get the work done. And it seems like there's supposed to be some regret.
Yeah, I mean, I keep wondering if her lows are too low and her like evil highs are too high, because
Oh,
like since
that's
the castle,
really good.
yeah, since
Yeah.
the castle, she's been kind of consistently conflicted and like, oh no, Indy might get hurt. Oh no, the Brotherhood, the Cruciform Sword guy got shot and stuff. She's worried. She's got literally a worried look on her face the entire back half of the movie. But right before that, she is doing cartwheels that she got Indiana Jones and Henry Jones tied up in a chair, and she sucks on his lip, and she really rubs it in that she got him, and then she tricked him, and that she got the Grail from him. So it's like, how did she get from there? Like, what happened in the car ride from there to Berlin, where she just all of a sudden is like conflicted about being a Nazi?
But that, see, in that situation where she's got him tied up, she's in control of the situation and she can act, which is what she's doing. She's putting on an act. But in this situation, when Henry gets shot, that's a genuine reaction, I think. Like, she actually is horrified by seeing somebody get shot right in front of her. And just like she was horrified by the head rolling. And I think she genuinely cared about Henry.
That was actually the other instance of the British style of acting, stage acting, that I mentioned in the previous minute. That when he gets shot, she freaks out and Donovan screams, "Get back!" But neither of them look at each other. In that scene, she motions forward and says no, and he says, "Get back!" And her whole face quivers in at different moments. It's amazing to watch. Like, her mouth quivers and her eyes quiver, but like they're both staring off into the distance, but emoting at each other. It's really intense. I love it. I love that kind of like Britishy stage acting, fierce stare.
Yeah, Rachel goes into like a sort of orgasmic state watching Blake 7.
It's just always.
I'm just like, I think I need to go to bed soon.
They're just saying dramatic things, staring off into nothingness, standing next to each other for no reason. Why are you standing so close? Talking so seriously.
They're talking to each other, but both of them are looking at the camera, kind of.
Kind of.
Right.
Yeah. Or the cameraman, maybe.
Right, look
That's
at the
awesome.
cameraman.
Well, that is what's frustrating about Elsa as a character for me, I think, because she as a character, she's got a lot of problems, but I think Allison Duty is kind of doing an awesome job.
Oh, sure. Well, see, I'm wondering, am I supposed to just think that, Elsa's young and, after school, Hitler just gave her some cigarettes and she just happened to get in with the wrong crowd?
Hey, kid, want to buy a grill?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how this is supposed. That's what I feel a little like her trajectory is here. She's like, oh, a Nazi, but it's like, but it's really archaeology. But she's sort of a. I guess she had to get in with the wrong crowd, and then now she's feeling regret, and it just Tommy, you said it best. The highs are too evil, and the lows are too compassionate, I think.
Yeah. But see, the Nazis also weren't really the wrong crowd. Like, it wasn't an outside group that you would join and you'd be like, I'm a rebel, I'm joining the bad guys. I mean, they were like everywhere, and so she was
like
basically joining the establishment.
Sure. You said that as a pull quote for the episode. The Nazis weren't the wrong crowd, says Pete Smart.
Absolutely
for
not.
Congress.
Yeah.
Pull that out.
Yeah, there's another great mirroring shot here though. When Henry falls onto Indy's shoulder, he rests his chin on his shoulder, just like Indy did on his dad's shoulder. Like, it's almost the same hug, and I think
His
that's
face
great.
is all mushy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So what you call it, Jerry? The honey bear.
Yeah.
Honey bear hug.
Honey bear hug. Yeah, he does. Yeah.
As it's like the cat's in the cradle.
It is.
Oh yeah.
He got shot just like me.
I have a question.
I'm going to cry now.
I have a question. What does Indy grab off of Salah?
Anything he can.
to put in the wound. Like, I kept looking to see.
Oh, it's his handkerchief, right?
But there's no handkerchief there. Like, I kept rewinding and looking at the scene, and there is nothing. I couldn't see a handkerchief at any point. And
It's
I
the
kept
sound
thinking,
guy's handkerchief.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we know it's not condoms.
He reaches.
Saul's never heard of those.
The man of action.
But it looks like someone hands it to him, but there's nobody behind him that's a good guy.
It looks like he should be reaching to where that pocket would be.
Yeah,
but I kept
you're right.
looking at the scene beforehand, and there's no pocket with a handkerchief hanging out of it. And the only other thing I could think of is maybe his tie, but it looked like it's a properly tied tie, and that's not something that you would be able to reach up and just rip off someone's neck.
Maybe it was a clip-on.
Oh, wait a minute. It
Perhaps.
does. He does reach up to his tie.
Right?
He
It,
reaches
like, look-
up to Sala's
up.
neck. Yeah,
But
but
that's
then
not
he
his
doesn't
tie,
take
though.
That's
the,
not his
no,
tie.
it's not his tie.
It's where
You're right.
it's where a handkerchief would be, but I
Yes.
could
Right.
not
Yeah,
see
yeah.
any handkerchief in any previous scenes. So
Maybe it's like not for show and it's a
mystery.
legit handkerchief filled with boogers and stuff, and it was like stuffed into
Yeah.
his pocket.
Henry's gonna get sepsis, I guarantee you.
Can we say boogers every episode for the rest
No.
of the
yeah,
no,
yeah, yeah. Well,
no, we
listen,
cannot,
maybe,
no.
Well, it
Yeah,
goes to show you.
we're shutting this show
Sala-
down, guys. This is our last episode. I apologize.
Look, Sala's not an eater. Hey, I'm glad you laughed, Rachel. Thank you.
He is the best digger in Egypt, though.
Oh my god.
Oh, come on.
Oh my god.
Wow. Well, okay.
Find us some
I have
gold, Sala.
another we have a big question here. We'll try and straighten it out here. What does Donovan mean when he says to Indy, it's time to ask yourself, what do you believe? Like, so what's fascinating is that Donovan is that he's suggesting that Indy's crucible here is not even a physical one. It's a spiritual one. It's
Yeah.
time to find out what you believe. Not like if you can waltz in and get this grail and whatever, duck and find out some booby traps. He's saying you're only going to save your father if you believe. And I'm wondering, so what if Indy just said, listen, I'll go get your cup of Christ, but I'm still an atheist.
Right, right.
Like, then
Well,
would
I
it
don't
not
think-
work?
But I think he's saying that, you will only risk your life to go get the grail because you believe it's the only thing that'll save your
Right.
dad.
Right.
Which is problematic in its own way. Like, does that mean that for the next like 5 or 10 minutes of the movie, we're just watching a guy who doesn't believe what he's doing at all, but is just
No,
like,
I think I think he absolutely believes what he's doing. I think
that's even more problematic, maybe.
Do you
well, I
so?
think, I mean,
I
for
don't
you it
think he
is, but I
believes.
think,
I don't think he believes.
really?
I don't,
because
I don't
he's-
think he believes.
Yeah, I mean, like his
You don't think he
responses are
believes?
like, but in
It's riddles.
in Latin, Jehovah starts with an I. It's
Right.
Just like, it's
Yeah.
just like a matter of brass tacks.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
mechanical
right
traps
term?
made
Yeah.
by people. Yeah.
No, I don't think he believes in, I'm not saying he believes in God necessarily, but I think he believes that what he's going to do is going to save his dad.
Oh. Yes. Okay. Then
So
yes,
he
I would
believes
agree
that
with you.
the grail has spiritual.
Yeah, it has
Resuscitating,
superpowers, whether
healing
it's
powers,
spiritual
yeah.
or not. It has some
But
kind
when
of
did he
power.
start believing that?
Just now.
When he got the ark.
You would think so.
Well, no,
Yeah.
I mean that's the thing. See, this is what I don't understand this. Like, you can't just be knowledgeable about religions. You are required to have faith.
Right. And
Which I
that's-
don't
mean,
think is true
that's
in
like
the movie.
like a thing that I've kind of wrestled with for a long time. And, honestly, I'm going to say a long time, but I think it actually came up like where I was able to verbalize it for myself because I was having some conversation on the Listeners Crusade message board on Facebook where I realized that by the end of this cycle of films, Indiana Jones must be a really conflicted man because all of these stories are about, oh, come on, what does he say? You're talking to me about the boogeyman, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, his attitude is like,
Yeah.
I don't believe in any of that stuff. And then the end of the movie, he goes through his ordeal, and at the end of the movie, he's like, I believe in that stuff. I mean, that's kind of what happens in all three of these movies. Like, come on, that's ridiculous. Oh no, this is horrible. Oh, I see, it's real. Like each
Right.
time.
Right.
And so
He's his
so
own
by-
Scully,
by
is what
the-
you're saying.
Exactly.
Scully
Yeah.
never quite believes, does she? I mean,
No,
even
she
like-
doesn't.
Even like in the
Right.
most recent season, she's like, "Oh, come on, Mulder."
Right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, we figure there's been an entire series of, and granted, those shows were largely like educational things, like Scholastic episodes or something like. But there's been the whole Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. There's been books that maybe function like the EU, and then there's been these movies where all of these things kind of happen and with this same pattern. Like by the end of his life, you just, if people like, oh, do you have any faith, Dr. Jones? Well, on Tuesdays I was a Zoroastrian. I practice the Baha'i faith on Wednesdays. And
Right.
But see, we've talked about that a lot I think, over the course of these 3 movies, and about how he doesn't seem to have an arc. Like he believes and he doesn't believe. But I think this is actually different, and I think this also is another mirror image to Raiders, because in the first 2 movies, I mean, he kind of, I think at the end, believes that these objects have some kind of, superpower, but I don't know that he necessarily believes in, a higher power, a god or whatever. But this is the first time that he's required to show faith in something. Like the other times, he doesn't really have to show faith in the objects. He just has to, do physical stuff on Earth.
Yeah, he just uses them.
Yeah.
But I mean, is it faith if you're required?
Yeah. Do you just decide to
show
have
it?
faith?
Well,
within
he's
30
required.
seconds?
He's required in the sense that that's the only way he's going to save his dad. And in this one, like at the end of the scene, you see him start to walk up these stairs, and it almost perfectly mirrors the scene in Raiders that began everything,
Right.
where he walks up the stairs in the Chachapoyan temple. But
Yeah.
in that movie, he's walking up the stairs to get something for his own. He's getting something for his own collection, for himself, for his own glory. And now at the end of the movie, the last movie, which at the time this was going to be the final movie, they've closed the bookends, and this time he's walking up the stairs because he needs to get something to save somebody else's life. He needs to,
Right.
he's sacrificing himself. Like he's had a character arc, and now he's grown and he's a different person.
Which does end with a leap of faith.
Yeah, a literal
true.
leap of
Yeah.
faith. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Wow. So there is
Yeah.
a character arc over the course of the 3 movies where,
Maybe.
though he
I think
has,
there is.
Pete, that was brilliant and
was good.
beautiful.
Yeah.
That was really good. I still feel though like it's like he's doing that because he's not going to let his father die.
Right. And he has seen
it's-
enough weird stuff to be like, even if he doesn't have faith, like, oh, this is the cup of Christ and it's holy and, it's from God. He could not believe that, but still believe, okay, I saw
Right.
an ark kill an island full of Nazis.
Right.
I seen a house fly. I seen
Right.
an elephant fly. So he might just go get the Grail thinking, I think this is one of those things that, has
Right.
some weird power that I don't understand.
And that's
It might
what I
save my dad.
I
Yeah.
think by faith. Like I don't think he
Okay.
he believes any particular religious thesis, but I think he believes that he has to take a chance here to do something weird to save his dad. And I think
But
he's going to do that.
that's what I'm saying. I feel like if you're coerced, it's not faith.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I have a bit of an issue with that. And his father's going to die, so it's like, okay, I have to. All right, I'll get it together here.
But wait, aren't you?
But he
kind of
doesn't. I
always
mean, he doesn't really
coerced?
have another choice.
I mean, like, aren't you always coerced? Like,
Yeah,
I
if
might
you went
be
to
told
Catholic
that
school,
yeah.
yes.
They keep telling me I have free will, but like, if I don't do this, I'm going to hell. Is a kind
Yeah,
of coercion.
yeah.
Isn't it?
Oh, wow.
True.
God, I love this minute. We got everything for you. We got
We got boogers, we got faith, we got
condoms.
yeah.
Condoms.
The listeners are getting
Oh,
their money's
wow.
worth.
I still come back at to the whole thing. It's like, listen, I mean, India is totally bros with not only Yahweh but Shiva too now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of. As a matter of fact, it was Shiva first.
Right. Right.
So I mean, I don't think he would. I understand he's not demonstrative with his beliefs, but I don't. I think it would be fine to have him believe in this. I think he's got.
I just don't
God's
think he
digits.
does. I think it'd be fine. I just don't think
Yeah.
he does. I
Maybe
mean, he's
that's why he gets old.
Well, that's what's crazy is Donovan doesn't think he does. Donovan
right.
has never asked if he's religious or not.
But see, I don't think that what you believe has to do with religion. I think that what you believe is, do you think you're going to be able to save your dad?
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Or maybe he's referring to his whole thing about, like, the beginning of the movie, he's like, trust no one. And then later on, he's like, hey, I told you, don't trust anybody. Maybe that's just that.
yeah.
It's like, well, what do you believe?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm saying,
Oh yeah.
am I lying?
Yeah. Maybe I am going to
knows?
shoot you in the gut right now.
maybe your father has fake blood.
Yeah. Shot him with raspberry juice.
Yeah, exactly. You're not really a junior.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's
Just calls you
Donovan
that.
Jr. I am your father.
Well, do we have anything else for 104?
Yeah.
Last call for comments. Oh, there you go.
I just
shot.
to carry on harping about the photography or the cinematography in this, the way that this ends is pretty amazing as well.
So beautiful.
It
Yeah.
you get everything that you need to know, right? Like I'm not even going on about like there's like the shot reverse shot of the fast dolly in, like the low angle dolly into Donovan's face when he's like, "What do you believe?" and that sort of thing, you know. That sort of thing, that whole thing we just started, we just finished talking about, and then there's like the reverse to Indy, and his response to it is the mirror of that shot. But then it immediately goes to this thing where it's got the Nazis in the foreground. In the mid range, you've got Henry Sr. on the ground with Marcus leaning over and Sala leaning over him, so we know what the situation is here. And then what are the warriors called? The two hats fellas?
They're Hatay soldiers. Oh,
yeah, it was the two of them.
Well,
both
these
of them
guys.
kind of do it in tandem. They get together and they sort of function as a gate, you know, where it's coordinated so that they're all moving to the right side of the frame as the camera tracks to the left. And it goes all the way over so that you can see what Indiana Jones is walking towards, which is the you know, this impending ordeal, this imminent ordeal. And I really think that it's amazing the way that whole thing was choreographed and designed so that, like, if you were a person that hadn't watched any of the movie up until this point, you would have a frame of reference to know what you're supposed to feel just from that one shot.
Right.
You know, like,
Nice. Yeah.
they're opening up. We're seeing where he's going. We're seeing why he's going there. And we're seeing what's forcing him to do it. You know, and then in the distance, there's something totally ominous. You know that it's ominous. And from the point where that shot starts to the point where it ends, the composition is never bad.
Never. Right. Yeah.
You know? And it's just masterful to me. You know, it works so well just as a visual storytelling device.
That's very nice.
You know, I was just like, this is amazing. This is great. This is, again, like I said in the beginning, everything that I love about Steven Spielberg.
Yeah. And it reminds me of the scene at the beginning of Temple of Doom when we had J.W. Rinsler on. He was talking about how every scene in that beginning scene in Club Obi-Wan was like a dance. And the way the camera was moving in one direction and everybody else was moving in a different direction except for Indy, who was moving the same direction as the camera.
Wow.
And that's almost mirrored here.
Wow.
Like everything's like the way it's framed and the way it's blocked and the way it's shot. It's gorgeous. And I like how you put that song.
Yeah, between this movement, this minute and the minute previous, it showing my geek here. It reminded me of marching band. It's so impressive to me because as Song was saying, like every beat, like you can find the beats of where the camera is moving and the actors are moving to hit their marks, and then there's a beat in a moment where you hit that spot, and then it moves to the next one and there's a beat, and like complete with actors having to walk backwards to get to their spot, and it's so impressive for it all to work in tandem in one sweeping motion, and and especially that last shot that when we both watched our minutes, we were like, wow, that was beautiful. Let's watch that again. That second minute, that last shot. I mean, just like Song was saying, that when you first see the shot and like even Sala on the ground, his face is like between two Nazis' legs. Like it's so perfectly choreographed and framed in such tiny detail, and the movement and the swooping of it all works.
But you can even see like the way that they're directed. Like Sala is watching Indy walk, and Marcus is looking down at Henry. Right. You know, it's like there's nothing in that shot isn't planned out. Right. And I appreciate that and respect that so much. You know, just the I'm at a loss for words.
Technical perfection, but done for emotional impact. You know, it isn't just technical, showing off technical prowess just to be like, ooh, look at this great shot. It's also to to bring you to a certain emotional state and storytelling, swooping movement.
He's leading the audience.
Yes, exactly.
He's
Uh-huh.
leading the audience. And that's great. And I appreciate any director that's able to do that. To have that confidence to know what it is, know exactly what it is that they want the audience to feel, and to know your tools well enough to be able to actually do it.
You were saying it's like he's a director that knows how to direct in all 4 dimensions.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Beauty.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is. That's a great. It is a great scene. We watched it while you were talking
Guy knows
about
what
it.
he's doing.
He does. Speaking of knowing what they're doing,
Oh,
machines coming alive. That's right. Yes. This just in. Coming over the wires, hot and fast, coming at you. From Professor Christy Porter. Oh, ooh. We have a Catholic alarm. We got a Catholic alarm. We got a devil testing a son to prove his love for his father in the
Oh, my God.
desert.
wow.
Huh.
Nicely done.
That's
Christy.
interesting.
Nicely
Yeah.
tagged, boy.
Wow.
Dang.
Wow.
Wow.
Never would have occurred to me.
No,
Wow.
that was
Pretty
great.
good.
Never would have occurred to me.
Well done, Professor Christy Porter.
Probably never occurred to Spielberg or Lucas or any of them.
I don't know if it did though. I mean, because if you think about E.T., going back to that is the story of Jesus. You know?
Yeah.
Kinda,
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
We were just talking about that over on the
Yeah.
Patreon show.
Yeah, we were.
Ooh.
Well, awesome. Song, Rachel, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
These have been beautiful
you.
minutes with you guys.
Thank you for
Hooray.
having us.
Yes, we enjoyed
That's
it very
cool.
much.
I was super happy
Awesome.
that you got in contact. I was like, cool.
Oh,
I get to
totally.
talk
Yeah,
to
we
those
wanted to make
guys
sure we-
again.
Hooray.
I was kind of sad that I didn't get to come out to the movies by the minute party that you guys
Oh,
had
yeah.
last year. It was
It was
hectic
great.
time,
It was a
but
lot of
It
fun.
seemed like fun.
Well, there's another one in Denver coming up this year.
Oh wow!
In August.
Oh,
August
cool.
18th.
Cool.
You don't need to be sad.
It's gonna happen again.
Yes.
Yeah, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you again? And your stuff and your artwork.
Sure. You can find me, Rachael Noel Fox, at rachelnoelfox.com. And
That's
I've
confusing.
got, yeah, I know, right? I just can't keep all my names straight. Actually, and then my Instagram is cross-eyed fox, but there's more ridiculous photographs than there's artwork on there at the time being, but have at it.
Awesome.
You can find me at songriddle.com. It's SONGERIDDLE.com. Honestly, if you just type Song Riddle into Google, I'm the only one that's going to come up. It's a really
It's true, I've
stupid
done it.
name.
Yes.
It's an awesome name.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I have an Instagram as well. You could, if you want to look at artwork. Though, for the last, I deleted my Facebook account about 2 or 3 weeks ago, which is wonderfully freeing.
Oh, wow.
But the past few posts I've put on there have been like, hey, here's my face. Most of the time it's just artwork. It's at Song Riddle. Instagram, it's at Song Riddle.
Awesome.
And, I do some stuff. Sometimes you'll see me in the credits and things.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, check for these guys across the internet and in credits. And check for us back here tomorrow for Minute 105 of
Hooray.
Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade here on the Indiana Jones Minute.
Bye.
Yay.
Bye.